I didn't screw that up. All right, hello everybody. It's Overwatch PIT Group B, Day 4. Once again, I'm Ask Joshi casting with Sideshow, and we are here for our second series of the day. It's a little bit confusing again. Dignitas and Hammers are going to be delayed to our third match. We are here with Misfits versus X Alternate Attacks, and the first map is going to be Hollywood. Another good BO3 for us. Misfits starting out at 3-0 series score, and X Alternate at 0-3. So X Alternate, if they could beat Misfits, obviously that would be huge for them. But tournament-wise, it's looking like Misfits are just trying to punch their ticket to the playoffs. What do you think, Sideshow?
Yeah, this is possibly the most mismatched game that we'll have today, and possibly of the group. But even then, I feel like Alternate Attacks, from watching them in the qualifier and now watching them in the tournament, they've suffered from two things, I think. One is that they've actually made a change to one of their DPS players, and that appears to be not working out for them quite as well. It's difficult to tell, really, and I don't think you should particularly pin it onto that individual player, but it's worth it to point out, I think, that they have changed a player compared to their qualifier run. They used to have Nil, a Finnish guy, on the hit-scan DPS spot, and now they have Envision, who was previously playing with Oslo Lions along with Decode, their main tank. And the other thing as well is that although they were about on the level of VV's Adventure, who qualified for playoffs in the other group, this group looks harder. Like Misfits, Dignitas, Movie Star Riders, they're all really good teams. Hammers is also a really good team, and Ninjas can show some excellent performance at times as well. So it's just a really difficult group for these guys.
Well, starting out defense, triple tank plus soldier seems to be very solid, of course, and Tavik, being the excellent damage dealer that he is, can basically play anything, and I would still feel okay with it. We've got Winston diving in here. Decod gonna die before he even really gets the bubble around him. That was actually crazy how fast they blew him up, and Nevix gonna find the kill onto the Genji with looks like a hook combo with that headshot, and Envision also gonna go down here. It's a pretty swift defense, and now aggressively pushing toward the spawn there to make sure they can't get another clean attempt in at attacking.
They put a lot of damage onto Decode there. I'm actually not quite sure how he died. There must have been a right click from Nevix plus some pressure from Tvik as well, and that can be a hugely impactful way of shutting down this triple DPS dive. Is that if you get the kill on the Winston quickly, then basically their entire attack is ruined because they're missing their solo tank, and they're playing with 3 DPS players, 2 supports and 1 tank. If you manage to get the Nevix is just shredding them, man. There's so much individual talent on this Misfits team.
I was watching Envision's Tracer literally just do a lap around the point and then leave. It was kind of funny, as he couldn't really get in at all. He took a few shots at Reinhardt and said, nope, I'm out. Decod had already died in the span that it took him, Tracer, to actually get onto the point. Ruby here as Zenyatta trying to soften up the front line as much as he can, but they can't just dive onto the point. There's nothing to dive. They're just going to get surrounded and nuked, so they really need to dive into that top cafe, if anything, to try and shake Tavik loose. But Cranks is going to actually be up there trying to force Tavik back. Envision, unfortunately, is the first one down again. Nevix seems to be doing a terrific job. Ruby finds a frag in there onto the enemy Ana, so that's the first kill that they've gotten, and they really need to figure out how they can capitalize on it.
Nevix is shredding people on Roadhog. He's really putting in this performance. Of course, he is a fantastic player on a huge range of heroes. Oh, here comes the Dragon Blade. Oh, but he gets hooked immediately. Nevix again tripling it down before the Transcendence could come in and have any chance at saving him there. But there are still ultimates on the board. They could still take this.
It's definitely looking good here for the attacking team, with the sound barrier coming out, affecting basically everybody. Nex has his tactical visor, and Nevix is actually finally dead for the first time. So this should be their window open now to actually capture A with 1.5 minutes left. Still not the worst thing ever, actually. Grabbing point A against Misfits in general is something I'd never be able to do, so they finally get it coordinated. Decod lives long enough to be helpful, and they do flip that point. Now they're starting into the streets. They're immediately going to start running into the face of their enemies. Zebosai nades himself at the very last possible second to stay alive. Nice heads-up play there from Ana, and Cranks is going to be the first one down. Of course, his spawn point is very close to where the cart is, so it's really not too big of a loss. Decod could also go down there, and does, without losing really too much momentum here. Tavik does have the tactical visor on the high ground ready to go, though, for the defense.
I wonder if we'll see this trend continue, where X Alternate Attacks are good when they have their ultimates up, when they're able to coordinate different ultimates, because that was what won it for them last time. Here comes a Graviton, catches Tellers, he falls. Magneton and Xavier have died as well here though, so the DPS players have a lot of room to work with. And now that the defensive tank has fallen, that's a large amount of kills falling for X attacks, and they're going to take this first little section of the Wild West.
Tvik did last as long as he possibly could, actually just kind of suicides by jumping onto the cart there after his whole team is down so that he can rejoin them. Obviously, you don't want to just get rushed down at your enemy's leisure and allow them to build ult off of you, so he's just going to end it all. Next is there on the high ground this time, the attacking soldier. Does not quite have the tactical visor to work with, but should be there pretty soon. Tvik on the other side still hanging on to his. Decod in trouble once again. Transcendence is going to get triggered actually to save his life. You've got Crank's Dragon Blade out now for the attacking team, finding a couple of targets, including Ana. Zebosai, can he save himself? No, not even the great Zebosai Ana can keep away from Crank's Genji. In the end, tactical visor from Nex also committed, perhaps a bit late, but the cart is going to continue moving.
They've actually played this really well throughout this entirety of this second checkpoint. They've got so aggressive with their tanks. Decode has played far better than he had when he was first trying to initiate. Obviously, it's much more difficult on Hollywood A. And their DPS players have been popping off here. Tvik pops off his tactical visor, though. They're going to get a couple of kills. Cranks and Next fall. And now Misfits should have an opportunity to set up, and it's the lack of setup that's really been hurting Misfits throughout this entire payload stage. They haven't just been able to win a fight yet and stabilize.
Tvik did get the nano visor that time and basically just mowed them all down as you'd expect, but he lived at the end with only like 7 HP. So actually pretty impressive just to manage to stay alive and get all that carnage in. He's going to bring himself back up here. Sound Barrier is the only ability on the attacking team ultimate-wise that they can lean on, and Xavier has it on the other side as well. So it's not really a great look for them. Sound Barrier is going to be used immediately, and Reinforce hits the Earth Shatter. It at least hits Tracer. I didn't see how many he got with it, but 3 kills add up very, very quickly, and the cart itself is not going to be moving anytime soon. Looks like Misfits will hold pretty easily, and Vision going to be the last person down there, and it's a team kill. So hopefully they got some damage in to generate some more ultimates, but Tal has actually used his Sound Barrier. I don't know. Perhaps a bit wasted there, but we've got one more attempt really for X-Alternate to try and grab this checkpoint.
I don't think it was actually wasted from Tales, because he used it and it hit the rest of his team and they wanted to engage, but Reinforce just hit both Tales and Envision with a really crucial Earth Shatter and then finished off the kill on the Lucio to properly set up that team fight for the rest of his team. So I think it was a useful initiation with the Sound Barrier. It was just a really good shutdown from Reinforce as well.
Sure. It was not enough. And it's going to be Nevix slicing away now at the enemy DPS. Cranks could have avoided that death, unfortunately. He actually challenged Nevix with the blade out, and you just don't need to do that ever as a Genji, really. Nevix is going to be running away from Primal Rage Winston at this point, under 40 health, while the rest of his team is going down. So actually, this could be X-Alternate putting a great little push together here near the dumpster. They're going to be able to control that exit as well. Tvik not in a place to do anything by himself. Reinforce is here at the ready, though, with the Earth Shatter. He hits several targets, including Envision and Next, shuts out both those DPS. Cranks is going to eat a Bionade, and Tvik's tactical visor as well will help clean things up, and Misfits have grabbed the cart back in overtime. No second checkpoint for X attacks.
Really nice play by Misfits. They know that they have a huge spawn advantage just as the card approaches this second checkpoint. Reinforce has his Earth Shatter along with the Nano Visor that Zebasai and Tvik can pop off, and he delivers it again. A really nice Earth Shatter. And it might feel like we're giving Reinforce a little too much credit here because he is playing against a Reinhardt-less composition, but you still do see quite a number of Reinhardts when they're playing more of a structured composition and they have their Earth Shatter up and the only tank on the enemy team's a Winston, and yet they still can't find a good opportunity to hit the Earth Shatter because there's so much mobility on the other team. He has to really time that quite well when there's players around the cart or players that are grouped up together, and you don't often get that when they're running triple DPS.
True enough. I think Misfits had a shaky beginning of the second stretch there, but actually everything came together pretty well. I think we had Nevix actually switch off the Roadhog onto Genji, and he was just a little bit better able to keep himself alive and find those nice entry points rather than Roadhog, who's basically just a walking pincushion from time to time, especially when there's a Zenyatta on the other side. So after they broke free from point A, it made sense to have Nevix swap it up. And now he's actually going to be starting out on the McCree. I'm curious if he's going to keep that. Of course, obviously, the offense have plenty of time to switch things around. Tvik could end up with any of like 6 or 7 different heroes. So on the defense, we'll take a look at what they're running. It's going to be that selfless composition, Soldier, Tracer, plus Roadhog and Reinhardt to start out.
I really like the way that this team has a ton of flexibility on Misfits, but Maniton, now that they've moved him over to that flex position, was playing Winston, and I actually really like the Winston-Reinhardt defense if you're trying to play a slower composition, a 2-2-2, into the triple DPS, because that off-tank Winston can do a lot of damage to a triple DPS attack. But for the moment, it does look like no, Tvik's going back into the spawn room. He's going to change his hero. But they've got the triple DPS going on anyway, and Nevix on McCree, which you don't often see. Rogue sometimes run it with AKM. You need a really talented McCree to pull it off.
Well, the door's open already. We got a kill onto, I think it was Cranks just immediately having to return from spawn here. Zave was the one to get the killing blow, and yeah, Misfits are just hopping onto the point. There's not even a fight. Reinhardt's coming out here now, but 2 ticks have already been secured. Tracer's way in the background here, and Nevix actually just runs up and gets the kill with a flashbang of all things. So really looking good for Misfits to start off. Already some uncontested kills. Decod and Cranks both down as well, and that's going to be point A in just a matter of seconds, really under a minute when all is said and done.
I'm really confused what happened there. You said
Cranks
Cranks died super early on.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Because they just had to give him all the position from that point.
I was on his POV while you were talking still, and he just died. Like, the incoming damage on the high ground, he was not in the cafe, he was in the high ground by Gatorade, or whatever you call that platform.
That's so weird.
And he just, yeah, all the incoming damage at the same time, including Zave Lucio shot actually getting the killing blow. So, yeah, he just got eliminated, and they decided not even to take a fight on point A. Tried to rally in the lower cafe and didn't make it back in time, really, to make it happen, obviously. But in the streets phase here, I don't see really any switches or anything either, and Nevix here as McCree has not really been challenged. He falls to about 20 health now, but keeps laying in those shots, and Tvik gets 4 killing blows in about 2 seconds. The cart will continue to roll.
When you're playing this Soldier 76, what am I talking about? Soldier 76 and Roadhog composition, you have to focus down Reinforce on the Winston really quickly. You need to get the hooks onto him, and then you're trying to pick off individual players as they go towards you, but they've given up with that comp. Alternate or ex-alternate attacks now running with a Winston Diva, trying to get in the face of maybe Nevix and Zebasai, get the picks on them with a diving Diva.
Well, here, looks like a lot of ults are being expended. Reinforce is actually on the Winston here, just driving further into enemy territory, but Nevix is finding all the kills that he needs. Primal Rage is going to be triggered by Reinforce. And this offense was so blazingly fast that Hollywood is now over, Sideshow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty brutal stuff.
Xavier uses his sound barrier as well. You know, he just pops it off at the end. Like, this was a spare ultimate that I have. Do you guys want it? Anyone got any use for it? But they absolutely obliterated that. I feel like I don't think we quite saw everything that exit attacks could do on Hollywood defense, because they lost Cranks so quickly that they were on the back foot right from the beginning, like within the first 5-10 seconds. So with a little bit more stability, they might have been able to have a better performance there. But Misfits are the kind of team that can punish a mistake like that, and they did punish it really hard.
Here are the Tvik dash resets that we missed out on. I was giving Nevix all the love at the beginning of the game, and then I swapped over once they got to the later stretch, and then he went off again. So Nevix McCree definitely showing up there. Tvik on the Genji as well. The rest of the team kind of could just take it easy. Obviously, they're incredibly skilled players as well, but it's one game in the bag now for Misfits. And just to reiterate for everyone, Misfits, they could improve to 4-0 series score here, which is undeniable for the playoffs. So they are really just one game away. It depends, obviously, what is going to be picked here by X-alternate attacks, but they're looking so strong that I really just have to expect it at this point. X-alternates, they could take it to an assault map, perhaps, to try and be a little cheeky, or I would not take Misfits to Nepal, no matter what team I am. So their options are a bit limited here.
They got so much flexibility on this Misfits roster. They're the kind of team that when they first got put together, because they hadn't just gone with an all-star roster like Rogue did, for example, and they actually changed up a huge amount of their team. You know, there was 2 players from each team, 2 from Luminosity, 2 from Misfits, and 2 from Rogue that ended up making this Misfits team. They needed time to develop, I think, and really come into their own. And now that they've moved Nevix and Tvik over to DPS and moved Manitin slightly backwards into a flex role and put Zebasai on Ana, they definitely look like they've got a lot of They've got a plan for every stage. They know what compositions they want to run, and they've got a really deadly mix of hero versatility and huge star power on those 2 DPS players. And the other thing as well is that they don't look like they're quite finished. They still look like a team that's got room to develop. Reinforce as well, I think, I should just point out, has hugely improved on Winston. When he used to play with Rogue, whenever they were playing a Winston composition, it would almost be like he had learned how to make space for his team, but not how to stay alive. And now he seems to have mastered, in this sense, the ability to stay alive and make space on Winston, and he can play it in a solo tank composition.
Well, I have seen the Winston buff of being able to drop your shield cooldown from the beginning of the time you drop your shield is actually a new change for Winston, and I've seen a lot of pro players actually really take a liking to Winston who've kind of put him in the backseat recently, and I've noticed even on Reddit, of all places, people are saying, yeah, I've been playing more Winston as a result, and I guess his barrier change was actually slightly enough of a buff to get him back into contention, and in practice, I would love to see some statistics, some numbers to show what his his uptime, his shield uptime is actually like these days, but a comparison of some kind would be pretty cool to see. However, we are here on Nepal now. It's Shrine time. Doors are open, and we've got Nex in our POV at the moment. X-Alternate Soldier going to be heading straight over to the ledge side, sinking in some shots on that enemy Winston, but not enough to take him down just yet. Nevix actually already falling in a little bit of trouble as well, but they're all defensive players. They know how to keep themselves alive. Tvik and Nevix both still alive. Reinforce eats a Helix rocket, though, and he will be the first casualty here on Shrine.
And they've got Manitin on the Zarya, but Manitin was taking a ton of pressure there and had to use his bubbles defensively onto himself. And then when Reinforce went in to make space, he didn't have the bubble to work with and didn't have his own shield up, so got taken down pretty quickly. And we've got a normal, or like your classic dive composition here from Misfits, where they've got the Winston Zarya and an Ana with the Genji Tracer. And then you've got a triple DPS coming out from X attacks. And for the moment, it looks like the triple DPS is applying enough pressure to win.
Yeah, the triple DPS. I think Nex alone, I picked a good one here to start us off because he's very, very involved in the fights. Very rarely actually got into danger. There's a deflected pulse bomb. That was kind of strange. Tvik is going to miss on his, but Envision finds his on Reinforce. Manitin's going off on the other side, actually on the point, mowing people down. That's 4 killing blows in a very short span. Obviously, with the help of his Tracer and Genji, able to get a ton of damage out, but 36% is all that X Attack is going to get here for their first attempt.
And the ability, the advantage of having the Zarya on your side is not only do you have the utility of all the bubbles, but you can also act like a DPS if you get your energy high enough and you've got a huge game-ending ultimate. But talking about ultimates, Cranks is coming in with his own Dragon Blade. Hasn't found anybody just yet, though. They're darting around, seeing if he can pick off individual players. Manitin's falling super weak, and Zebasai can't keep him alive yet. Misses the sleep dart as well. Deflect out, but Nevix is going to pick up that kill and keep Zebo. Oh no, Zebo did die just at the end there.
Yeah, he fell, but it doesn't really matter when the rest of your team is just out there slaying everything. And 40% now for Misfits is going to put them in the lead. So X Attacks showing that, you know, they can obviously win a fight here or there. Just need to be able to string it together a little bit better. We've got a lot of ultimates here ready for the next push. Nex's Tactical Visor should be a pretty useful tool there. Looking at the opposite side, Graviton Surge could kind of ruin their day. Tvik Pulse Bomb, Big Bang combo could also be quite deadly, but the Graviton Surge is out. Manitin shooting directly into a Primal Rage. Pulse Bomb's out on both sides, actually, finding their targets. You've got a Tactical Visor now from Nex. Try to keep up with all these ultimates flying out. It's actually X Attacks getting the better end of everything when all is said and done. Zebasai's going to be the last one standing. He gets a nice consolation kill onto Envision's Tracer, but it is going to be X Attacks flipping it back. 40% for them now. Misfits all the way up to 80 means they could grab it back and potentially win off the back of a single attack.
Yeah, that was an interesting fight with ultimates being expended there. Manhattan uses his Graviton when they know that there's a Transcendence on the other side, but they pair it with the Pulse Bomb to try and negate that. Obviously, you can't heal through if it's just instant kill, but they caught Decode in it, and he just popped off his Primal Rage. Now, oh, look at that! Into the back line, but instantly taken out there. Ruby falls, but the Dragon Blade coming out from Cranks has already picked off 2, and they're getting the better end of this again. Reinforce is so weak.
Everyone's weak here now, and the point is actually going to still be contested by X Attacks. Good job actually getting as much percentage as they can out of it, but 74% is where they will be stalled, and now they are in one-and-done position where they have to win a fight here. If they don't, that shrine will be going over to Misfits. Misfits do have quite a lot of ultimates actually about to come online here. Tavik's Pulse Bomb can be deadly just on its own. We've seen a couple of good attempts from him so far. The sticky just barely misses the enemy Lucio to get us started here, but we've got Zebosai's Nano Boost coming up here. Reinforce is going to launch the Primal Rage. I'll take his POV as he smacks Ruby to death. There goes Nex as well. He's trying to find the enemy Lucio and gets booped away, but the Nano Boosted Manhattan actually getting tons of damage in there, as well as Nevix with the dash resets. Misfits running on all cylinders here to wrap up Shrine and give themselves that first round.
I really like the decision to Nano Boost Manhattan at the end. He had the energy to be able to deliver. He doesn't have to use an ult to carry on doing a ton of damage, and he's actually generating his own ult more quickly with the Nano Boost. So if they needed to, if they didn't quite have enough damage to be able to finish that fight anyway, Manhattan would have been that much closer to building his Graviton to wipe them at the end. Really nicely played with the ultimates in general, but X Attack's showing that they've when they don't have to attack around an objective, like when the fight is just centered around one position and they can take the high ground and try and attack and defend, they're actually doing pretty well with their triple DPS composition.
Yeah, I think obviously they won a couple of fights, managed a couple of flips on that first one. Here we are now on the Village, which obviously can play out a little bit differently. Hitscan is normally favored here. Manhattan is doing some crazy mouse maneuvers. I think he's just warming up his wrist, but he's basically just flicking back and forth as they walk up here. And as the fight begins, Nevix is going to be the first one trying to be focused. Ruby, the Zenyatta on the other side, has to hide away in his closet here, but should probably get rushed down any moment by Tavik. Maybe he can land the headshot. Oh, very nearly gets it, but Tavik recall actually just in time to save his own life. It's going to be Tavik as the first one down, and Vision still up in the face of the enemy supports trying to get those kills, but the point is open up. X Attacks have gotten the kills that they needed. Nevix, Manhattan both falling here as well, and they grab the point first again.
Their focus fire is pretty good as well. They're picking out individual targets. They know that they have to take down Reinforce pretty early, and then Tvik is kind of flitting around, and he's just trying to open up space for his team rather than really combining with Nevix in that particular situation when it opened anyway, to try and focus down targets. Because there's 3 DPS players, slightly more easy to find targets and actually focus them down. Reinforce into the back line. He's weak again, and the Pulse Bomb once again takes down the main tank, and Manhattan's under pressure and he can't help him out.
I need to give Envision a little bit more love. I think he's hit something like 4 pulse bombs already in this match, and 33% capture already is X Attacks doing a great job to start things off. Every pulse bomb basically has shown up in that kill feed. Even Tavik has whiffed a couple of them though, and on the other side, Tavik does have his ready to go, so maybe he can find a support to nail with it. The point itself is wide open, and this is something that you always have to be aware of on Village when you've got that high ground. Obviously, a split attack is going to give them the best opportunity coming in here. Nex is going to use the Tactical Visor with the Sound Barrier. The Discord Orb on Manhattan allows the kill to come in super swiftly, and Nex gets mass kills as a result, thanks to that Tactical Visor. 65% for X Attacks, and Misfits suddenly on the ropes in a position where they have to win a fight here.
But here's the good thing from Misfits. They've forced attacks so quickly that they've actually taken 4 attacks and built up their ultimates, and the point is only at 70%. But alternate attacks have realized this and have pushed forward into their spawn area and done a huge amount of damage. They've kind of opened things up here though, because now a massive ultimate bank has formed for the side of Misfits. They got a cheeky 9% there, but there's going to be all of the ultimates are going to be live here for Misfits, and if they can cap the point without using too many, they'll be able to defend as well.
I'm watching Manhattan because the Graviton Surge threat is certainly here, but there is a Dragon Blade out. Nevix actually had the Nano Boost to go as well. Finds 2 kills before really running out of targets, and Misfits will grab the point back. They did not have to burn all of their ultimates. Manaton's Graviton Surge I thought was going to come into play, but really a Nano Blade was enough to get the job done. Over on the other side, you've got Decod and Vision grouping up here, waiting to set sail once again once all their supports and tanks are back alive. Just checking out ultimates again, Misfits are favored. That Graviton Surge again could shut down a push by itself.
So Misfits force tons of fights there when they're actually on the attack, building up their ultimate banks and trying to expend them from the enemy team. Graviton comes in, 3 very quick kills, Decode and Krunks, their last guy alive, they're going to fall. And it's 50% now. They've used one of their ultimates. They're starting to build some of the others up. They're not really there yet. They'll need at least one more fight won in a completely dry push across the board. But Reinforce has his Primal Rage, which might come in handy as well.
It's kind of interesting. Nex might be able to get up to the Tac Visor if he can lay into that Winston, for example, to start things off, or even the Zarya player, just big targets. Zebosai is going to go down, though, and that will give him enough for the Tactical Visor. Unfortunately, 2 of his teammates have gone down, so Nex is going to leave the battle. Cranks is getting smacked around by Primal Rage Reinforce once again, trying to stay healthy. 44 health is not a ton to work with, though, and Vision goes down in the Tracer duel, and that might actually just kill the push there with no Tracer or now Lucio in play either. That is going to be 85% for Misfits. I don't know if X Attacks can even get rallied in time to make this last push. It's going to be a trickle, if anything, and Tactical Visor from Nex needs to get some kills.
Decode on the point. They have the Tactical Visor and the Dragon Blade. Gonna try and use that one forwards. Nex is under so much pressure though from Reinforce, but the Pulse Bomb comes out from Envision. That's pretty good. Zabi's just about to get his Sound Barrier out. He's gonna pop it off just in the last milliseconds before Decode found that kill, but it's looking good, pretty strong here, the attack from X Attacks. And they're going to be able to get on the point. And nano-boosted Tracer from Tweak is going to hold them off just for a second. Gets a pick onto Cranks again. But he's the last player really left in position.
Tavik tosses out another Pulse Bomb Sticky. That's the beginning of the fight. Tavik and Envision both hit their Pulse Bombs. This time Tavik hits it onto a full health Winston, so he doesn't get the kill. But Decod is extremely low. Nevix does eventually finish the job there now that he's back. Nex needs to be aware that he's falling pretty low health. There's the Biotic Field, but 99%. Up to 100 now. X Attacks grab their round on the village level of Nepal and actually make this an interesting battle. Sanctum, of course, is going to be next up. Misfits are in a position where all they have to do is win Nepal and move on into the playoff portion, so they really want to get this job finished here. X Attacks in a position where they're trying to battle back from essentially nothing just to keep the series alive and keep their playoff hopes even real at all. I think if they fall to an 0-4 scoreline, it's going to be mathematically impossible. So X alternate, pretty much everything on the line here on Nepal.
Both teams going to move over to triple tank, neither favoring the Diva or anything super interesting to win that shield war early on, except Zebasai is going to be starting, at the very least, on the Zen, which is going to give them a huge amount of damage onto the shield. So expect them to take the fight over on the left-hand side from their perspective and really shred Decode shield.
I'm watching. I like to take this first fight in third person just because you can see both teams actually in kind of a straight line. Roadhog Hook is going to be the way that the fight is opened up here. Reinhardt actually charges away from the ledge side, actually all the way to the point, and now his healers are a bit exposed, so that's kind of interesting. Decod actually must have just been a miss that he was trying to get a pin on. He actually returns over to his team now that the point is open even. Misfits do have the high ground advantage, but Cranks finds that first kill onto Reinforce eventually through all that poke damage, and X Attacks will push forward. Decod falls as well. It's a 5v5 at the moment, and they're going to start to flip that point with Lucio, but now the fight has broken down enough. It wasn't really a bloodbath, just kind of a slow start on both sides.
I've got you in my sights.
And I
Tavik already
cannot provide any insight into why... Oh, he just hooked into the pit, but somehow managed to survive there. Crank's not able to finish it. Graviton comes out as well, though, and Decode, putting in a huge amount of damage with his hammer, is going to be able to find those kills. They just need to finish Nevix in the back, and they should be able to get this first capture. That took a long time, that fight.
Ruby said something to me in the lobby about, hey, how about showing some support perspectives, and I showed it just now when Ruby basically missed a sleep dart and missed a kill, and that's about all that he did. But obviously the point had already been won at that juncture. Decod, as you mentioned, putting on a great performance there. And 16% for X Attacks. They grabbed the point first yet again, and already up to 20%. Manitin on the other side, as Roadhog has his whole hog available, and that, of course, can be very scary on Sanctum as environmental kills are a high potential. The Graviton Surge gets used. Manitin gets laid flat by the Earthshatter while his whole hog was active, so it's actually X Attacks making the better of this ultimate fight.
Reinforce was just up in the air, had already used his ultimate, but was getting pinned to the wall by the whole hog, so slightly predictable timing on when his Earthshatter was going to come in and didn't really catch anybody, and he falls. They've still got the sound barrier and the tactical visor to use, and Decold's being put under a huge amount of pressure. There's the nano boost out, the nano visor from Envision picks off Xave before he can use his sound barrier as well, so they're back in control here, X Attacks.
I got to give credit to Ruby on that last play. The Biotic Grenade was actually what finished off the Roadhog. Envision had the nano visor shooting him down to about, I don't know, 5% health, and then the Biotic Grenade across the field actually got the splash damage needed to take out Roadhog. So that stagger actually was pretty significant there. Nice play there. Tavik is going to have the tactical visor this time. No nano potential here. Reinforce actually just about to get his Earthshatter. Was a little bit too slow there as Decod hits his right in the face of Misfits. However, it seems Misfits will get the kills they're looking for. Tavik with a nice Helix Rocket onto the enemy soldier was being pretty pivotal there as well. Ruby is going to take a dip in the pit and rejoin his team at spawn. 64% for X Attacks, a better percentage than perhaps I would have given them going into this, and Misfits have flipped it. They've got all the ults to work with, so X Attacks, it's going to be a while before they set foot on that point again, I think.
Yeah, they need some huge play to come out. Both teams going to be up to their Graviton Surge pretty shortly, but X Attacks are going to be the first ones. Decode moves forward. Reinforce uses his Earthshatter but doesn't find anybody. The Graviton comes in at the same time as the Transcendence. That's not going to get anything done. And now Nex has used his, and Nevik still has one in the bag for the next fight.
Poor Cranks had his POV there. He really couldn't do much by the time his teammates started dropping around him, and a hog on his own sometimes can get a consolation kill, but generally you're just going to get completely destroyed. Even if you take a breather, you're not going to last long. And Vision going down as a little stagger there that the Misfits gained themselves, and the Misfits haven't really used any ults, even though they had that big ult advantage. We were saying that X Attacks, it's going to be a while before they can get back onto the point. They are starting to generate some ults of their own, but Misfits still have all theirs intact.
Nevik's looking sneaky. Round the corner from the rest of his team, moves in. Graviton used, 3 players caught. Talus uses his sound barrier as well. Counter sound barrier out from Misfits, and a big Biotic Grenade from Ruby, but it's not enough to keep them alive. The last player really in this fight, though, is Nevix, who's trying to take a 1v1 against Cranks, who had the Nano Boost and the whole hog, and wrecks Nevix, who plunges him into the abyss.
This is last chance opportunity. Boop there onto Reinhardt. Decod, almost full health, just takes a dive as well. Great play there from Xave before going down, but sights are triggered there by Envision. The tactical visor is going to chase away Tavik, and they will get that flip. They're at 70% now, but they're down a Reinhardt, Decod, because he was still pushed into that pit just moments ago. So as Misfits roll right back in here, they're actually just going to stomp on the point themselves. There's no ults on either side to be used. I'm watching Tavik now as that soldier is basically like an ultimate with how well he aims, and he's about to be at 100% now. He's got the ability to try and win this for Misfits, but he gets hooked in. He doesn't actually go into the pit, though. He gets the kill onto Cranks instead with help from Xave, and Tavik launches the tactical visor, finds the 2 kills he's looking for. Now he's in on Ruby, but it's 100% already. Misfits 2-1 taking the Sanctum.
That's heartbreaking, because if 2 tiny little things go better for them there, then X Attacks are in a great position to actually win that round. For starters, they allowed Misfits to cap for free. Instead of getting on it just as they were about to capture and making sure that all of that time, their timer was ticking up and they would have been at overtime during that fight, because the fight itself took 20 seconds, they just allowed Misfits to steal it away from them, and then they're fighting in overtime, trying to recontest the point and flip it themselves. And then the second thing is that hook onto Tveek, because he has his tactical visor that helps them get the wipe. And if Cranks just drops him into the pit, just mere millimeters away, but somehow Tveek gets his little tippy toes onto the ledge and manages to survive.
Again, yeah, and that was all facilitated by Xave knocking Decod at full health into the pit, and Decod was still on his way back by the time Misfits showed up. So 3 three factors all combining in the last seconds to give Misfits that Sanctum level. Reinforced here is going to get extremely low health, 31 HP, does not survive the day. Cranks in there as Genji, just dashing and spamming shurikens, of course, as you do. But they're going to win this fight before the point even unlocks, and that actually is pretty rare.
Interesting to note as well that Misfits aren't going for a change in composition. This was the one stage that they lost last time, and it was fairly devastating for them on this first attack, and they only just managed to get it back into it really late in the round. But they're sticking to this classic dive where they have Maniton on the Zarya and seeing what they can get done with it. They need to focus down a couple of DPS targets early on, but they go for Ruby, and that's a lot of health taken out.
Yeah, Ruby is definitely a nice target to find. Since he's bullseye shaped, they all just make their way over to him and take him out incredibly quickly there. Envision is also going to eliminate to Vic, so he wins the Tracer battle on that one. Zebosai on Misfits. Did he actually hit that sleep dart? Doesn't matter. Decod's dead anyway. He's going to continue firing darts into his Zarya, trying to save him from a pulse bomb, but of course the burst damage is just too much. Finds Nevix and Maniton. Great play there from Envision, taking out 3 players in this fight.
He's been on fire throughout this series, I think. Oh, Twick finds the pulse bomb of his own. Envision with the recall, because I think it was actually stuck onto him. But it gets Taliz, and that's going to offer them a little opportunity to get back into this one. 55% already, though, on the board. And they haven't really found an entrance to be able to flip this. And some ults are about to come online as well. They've got both of their DPS ults.
Well, here I'm actually on Envision's POV, and he's going to get Zave destroyed immediately. It sounds like Nevix is out there doing work at the moment. 3 kills with his Dragon Blade, finally ending up in a 1v1 against Ruby. Either side could win that, so Nevix is going to bounce out before that Discord Orb backfires on him. And 77% from X attacks, and actually continuing on now as Decod gets into the mix with a Primal Rage ultimate. Envision gets in there and finishes off Maniton, and this could be 100-0 territory for X attacks.
I think Ruby's actually doing a ton of work on the Zen here, and the Ana pick from Zebasai really isn't helping them that much. They're getting focused down so quickly that Ana's heals aren't particularly helping to keep Reinforce alive. They are helping to keep Maniton alive, but he can't have that much impact, and he would probably be having a better individual play if he was on Zen. And at the moment, they're in overtime. They haven't even capped it yet. They're looking good just to steal this round 100-0.
Cranks is having a great day here on the village level, and as they finish off Zave, that is going to be 100-0. I don't think anyone's going to be able to get back in there and contest. Maybe, who is it actually? Just Tracer, Tavik, needing to recall out, of course. Only 150 HP, can get nuked down very quickly. As you see there, overtime goes down. We're going to a round 5 on Nepal. After that Hollywood game that we saw in game 1, would you expect it a 5-round Nepal?
No, they've done really well to come back into this, and I think they were lacking. They really hurt themselves with their defensive play when Cranks died immediately on Hollywood, and that kind of skewed what you thought of the fight, you know, what you thought of X attacks. But they're really making this triple DPS work for them. They've come into their own as a team in the last month, really, to this kind of level where they can compete with other teams, and Control appears to be a really good mode for them. They're going toe-to-toe with them at the moment. And this final stage, Shrine.
All right, we're back on Shrine, and Misfits did have pretty much full control of this one last time. I think it was only like 100-70 or so. So actually one of the closer rounds that we've had. But so far at the beginning of this fight, it's ledge side versus high ground, and no real engagement just yet. Winston's finally getting into position. Nevix and Nex both finding kills very quickly, make it a 4v4 right off the bat. Cranks is not going to have the freedom to roam around this time. Zave and Nevix combining for some kills there is going to definitely give Misfits what they're looking for. They get the first point capture here and get that percentage ticking up. On the other side, I'm sure they're going to be sticking with this composition basically throughout, just because it's been working so well. The nano combo is working out for Misfits from time to time, but it seems like, as you said, Ruby on the Zenyatta, the Discord Orb, has really been helping them find kills better, so they're going to stay with it. Reinforce is actually a little bit out of position here. I'm sure he's got his leap to save him. Yeah, under 200 HP, does manage to get out of there, but he's going to get rushed down in this hallway, and that is not a great start for Misfits. Tavik also fell extremely low, but does manage to recall and save himself. Nevix gets booped off the side, or maybe just boop eliminated, but it's X attacks finding 4 kills in a pretty short space. They're going to actually take this point. Oh, maybe not.
Tveek is doing his darndest to get back into it, but I think they are going to be able to take it in the end. There was only Zebasai and Tveek there, and He fell in the end. Interesting. Misfits have decided to move away. Last time they played this stage, they had Manitin on Zarya. And after getting smashed on Village, they've moved him over to be now playing triple DPS themselves. But they've still got Zebasai on Ana, so it gives them that hugely impactful nano boost to get back into the fight. And they don't have to go through any tiny choke points like on Village. So they don't really need that Transcendence.
Fair enough. And here comes a Dragon Blade out here from Cranks. He's immediately going to get bio-nated, but it does manage to survive his initial attack. Nex and Manitin both launching their attack visors. It seems Manitin is going to get the slightly better value in the end, but he is going to go down as well. Tavik is kind of the last DPS standing here as Envision takes out Reinforced, Manitin, and Tavik all in a row. That is going to be X Attacks taking the slight lead on percentage now, 42% to 38. So they realize their tournament life is on the line. It doesn't matter if it's against Misfits or against whoever. They have to win this map and the series to just have a chance of making it to the money in this tournament.
Smart play from Misfits, though. They pop out the tactical vibes from Manitin. They have to reply with 4 ults from X Attacks, and now they've got a massive ultimate advantage. Nevix coming in with that Nano Blade absolutely destroys everybody. What was that, 4, 5 kills for him on the Genji? Hugely impactful play.
Yeah, 3 kills in the first instant that he got that Dragon Blade out, and then the dash resets allowed him to find a 4th kill, I think, in that mayhem, but his teammates, of course, were all just laying into them as well, so he didn't get all the killing blows that he could have. Sound Barrier is going to come in here, and it's kind of late in the game. Manitin does not fall. They would have loved to have had that kill. Zave also survives with extremely low health, but Ruby and Zebasai both go down around the same time. Zave being down means no supports for Misfits, so got to give the edge to X Attacks as they continue this fight.
Zebasai's getting picked off fairly regularly, actually, and he's playing into a triple DPS dive composition, so fair enough, but he is new to this hero in terms of playing it at the top level competitively within this team after making the switch, so you wonder whether that's a potential point of weakness for them.
Envision helping finish the job there. Nexus Helix Rocket gets the killing blow onto Reinforce for the stagger, and 72% means this final fight could be the one that determines everything. Manitin is going to get a couple of chunks taken out of him. He's trying to get up to his tactical visor. Zebo most likely not going to have nano at the beginning of the fight. It's going to have to take a little bit of battle for that to happen. Cranks already has the Dragon Blade, though. He's going to pull that thing out, immediately gets swipes onto Soldier and Ana, but they got the sound barrier benefit. Manitin's going to use the attack visor in the face of a Genji, but still gets the kill somehow, thanks to Ana putting in some damage as well. Nex used his tactical visor, and it looks like X Attacks will retain the point because of it.
What an upset for them. They're going to be able to take Nepal away from Misfits. Been playing this fantastically. Just those 2 stages on Village, and then this one on Shrine. You know, they didn't have the diversity in terms of the different stages that they could win on, and in a sense they're kind of lucky they got Village twice, because there is a bit of RNG of which stages you end up playing, but there's no denying that they were dominant on Village and really performed well here on Shrine.
Here you see Nevix on the actual losing team Misfits with his insane Genji run there. The Nano Blade, of course, allowing him to get a lot done. I think I actually had the spectator bug the first time where Nano Boost Glow was not actually on him, so I didn't actually know that he had... Oh, I just lost connection to game servers.
Yeah, same.
Same? Oh, that's not good.
That just happened to me.
That is not good. Hopefully we can get right back in here. I'm going to have to log back in, but...
I actually can't remember my account name and password. I'm going to have to try a couple of things.
How is that possible? Have you not had the same
Battle.net
account for like your entire life?
I use so many different like account names and passwords for different things. I'm, top tier security, but that means, when something's so safe that even you can't like crack into it. That's the level of all of my accounts.
No, I don't. I'm not familiar. I could get into all of my accounts. I'm just kidding. I've got.
When you put something somewhere, like you put your keys somewhere, and you're like, I'm gonna put these in a safe place so I don't forget them. But it's so safe that even you can't remember where it is. It's like that, but with my accounts.
I feel like I probably have money hidden away in places that I hid it as like a kid or something, and that is just gone now forever. That's probably the closest that I've come to that, where it's like, I'm going to keep this safe. and just never remember that I have it. It's probably happened a few times, but I'm back into the server at least. Hopefully everyone else is going to be able to do that as well. It looks like some of the players got booted out of the lobby as well. So allow us just a minute to get kind of rebuilt here, folks. But we are right in the thick of a great series here. X Attacks versus Misfits. Misfits just blitzkrieg Hollywood, completely stole the show there, and then on Nepal they ended up pushing it to a full 5 rounds. That X Attacks actually comes out on top and forces a game 3. Pretty crazy stuff from one game to the next, I gotta say.
Yeah, that was pretty insane, but something that I want to highlight a little bit is going back to this point of Zebasai on Ana, because as far as I can remember, only in that last stage of Shrine, there was only one Nano Boost at any point, and I think that happened on Village as well. So when he's playing within this triple DPS dive composition or the Winston Zarya dive composition, it seems like he's not really being able to get that much healing out and therefore build his ultimate up, because the players are... You're going into a team that's picking off players one by one and really going for the kill rather than for damage on everybody. It's not like they're slowly chipping you down. They don't have any poke damage. They're jumping on you and focusing you one by one. And so it seemed like Zebasai in particular was struggling to get his ultimate up and struggling with players jumping on him and diving him. So in general, maybe they'd be better off on when they're running those compositions into each other to be having Zebasai on the Zen. I'm not sure. I think there's still some instability there in how they were playing.
Well, just trying to communicate here and get back into a lobby as quickly as I can. Our admin is still not back online, but it looks like some players are in a lobby, so I'm going to try to...
Did we... I don't think we told everybody as well, the viewers, that we are going to be moving into Hanamura.
Which, I didn't even know that.
They just announced that just before everybody's game crashed, so it just popped up in the chat and then suddenly, disappeared. And one of the teams, it was Zebasai and Misfits who obviously nominated Hanamura because it's loser's pick in this tournament for the group stages, best of 3s, and they said that they want to start on defense as well. So that's what we're seeing from Misfits as they start off. So taking it to something that they hope X Attacks won't have played as much. They've probably got some strats down for Hanamura. You have to be good at 2CP if you're a top team, so hoping for something special on Assault, as we saw from Volskaya in in the previous series.
Gotcha. So Hanamura gonna finish things out here. We again get the kind of world tour of map types with Hollywood, Nepal, and Hanamura covering those 3 map types. And the fact that they're starting out on defense is kind of interesting. Perhaps they're looking to full hold on A and just quickly take it and just have a quick game 3 here. But we'll have to see, of course, once we actually get into it. Players still actually making their way back into the server here. But we can take this opportunity to thank everybody for coming and watching. We have 4,000 viewers currently, which is around the peak for matches that I've been casting with you Sideshow. So happy to see everyone come out here. 4,200 now, actually just jumped up again. So people really excited by these Misfits players. I think specifically getting a nice viewership bump every time they take the field. But of course, we've got all our sponsors to thank. You can see across the bottom of your screen, AMD, Sapphire, Nitro, Logitech, Twitch, and Blizzard, of course, being put together here by Overwatch PIT. Make sure that you follow the Overwatch PIT Twitch channel if you haven't already. Obviously, this tournament will go on for a couple more weeks. We still have NA, which actually just started yesterday, kicking into gear, and the playoffs for Europe. We've already got our Group A teams determined. We've got one more day of play here for Group B after today. That's going to be tomorrow morning. And yeah, really great tournaments actually on both sides shaping up. I'm Ask Joshy casting with Sideshow yet again. I think we've had a pretty good rotation of casters as well. Rather large cast for this production.
Yeah, quite a number of people. Has been an enjoyable tournament so far. I was watching the North American games. It was last night for me. I guess it was yesterday for all of the North American guys. And there was some entertaining games there. Gale Force coming out, taking a map off Selfless, which was kind of surprising. They looked a lot better. But it was, I think, only the second time that Selfless had ever played Volskaya or something. So there's definitely there's pros and cons to being a newer team that's coming up through the ranks like Selfless, because they look incredible on the maps that they've actually played, but then they've clearly got some holes, some of them perhaps glaring in their map pool.
Well, I'd also want to point out Rise 2-0 Complexity, and Complexity have gone through something like 10, 12 team members in the last couple of months. The Carbon series specifically, I think they tried out something like 6 different players to fill the 2 spots left on the team that need filling. So it's always kind of a question mark which Complexity is going to be coming out. And they used to be so strong and so consistent. One of the longest lasting rosters, actually, before Harblue departed. But in the lobby now, Misfits versus X alternate, almost everyone is in here as Nevix joins us. I think that is going to be the cue for us to continue on. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us just a moment while that server issue, whatever, took place. Now we're ready to go again for Game 3. Just let them know that we are ready. And both teams are back to give us, hopefully, a very exciting Game 3 on Hanamura, as exciting as it can possibly be. Volskaya actually ended up being pretty entertaining earlier, so perhaps Hanamura could show us some nice stuff. I always love to see interesting tactics come out here on Assault as well, and this is a good time to try to flex some different heroes. Widowmaker on Hanamura Attack, for example, has been coming out more frequently, and I always love to see if a player can just go off.
The 2 stars from these teams is going to be quite interesting to see how they clash on Hanamura as well, because the dive compositions definitely can be super effective when you're on the attack, Hanamura, but they're gonna know exactly what they're playing into. You know, the X attacks have got a great triple DPS dive composition, but it's about the only thing that they've been able to perform at a level that is contesting Misfits. So Misfits will be able to read that and set up their defense accordingly. Another thing about starting on defense is that looking at the Apex stats, it's about 2/3 of the time the teams that start on defense on Hanamura and in general on assault maps end up winning the map overall. Just because once you've got your defense, like once you know what the win condition is when you're on attack, you can approach it in different ways. You can have different team compositions. Like you can have a team composition that's just designed to take point A, or one that's designed to take point A without using ultimates and then have an ultimate advantage to roll into point B. So I think it is the wise decision to start on defense when you're playing assault.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. All the reasoning is sound. Curious to see Torbjorn pop out once again. I think that in recent discussions, I've kind of shown my distaste for Torbjorn on point A just because of the risk-reward I feel doesn't really add up over the course of all the games that we've seen. I feel like Torb usually just gets flattened first. Once you have that threat, he's kind of like a offense magnet, and it's like, well, we know what his turret's capable of. We know we don't want armor piling up, so we're just going to nuke him down as quickly as possible. So Maniton, maybe he can show me some Torb skills to stay alive.
Having said that, it is really good against triple DPS dive. What it's really bad against is Winston Diva dive, and they haven't shown a propensity for that at all over on X attacks. And they're actually running the triple DPS dive at the moment with a Widowmaker and a Soldier 76. So this is super interesting coming from them, but they're going to get hurt badly by this Torbjorn, I think.
It's very possible. They're all taking a left side approach, which is kind of interesting. Widowmaker is being used by Envision, but has no one really to shoot at. So once they realized the Widow was in play, of course, they just fell off to the wings of either side of the point. I'm watching Nex for the most part here. Tavik actually takes a body shot there from Envision at the spawn, but Cranks is going to be the first one to really open up on Genji, finding 2 kills very quickly, and they're important ones. Zebo and the Ana both, Zebo and the Genji both being eliminated very quickly allows the ball to start rolling, and everything comes up X attacks on point A.
Okay, I have no idea what Misfits were doing with that Torbjorn. They played around the Torbjorn turret. That's literally the exact wrong way to play with the Torbjorn on Hanamura attack. Especially if you're playing it to dive. You can't stand around the turret and make it your frontline defense, because it gets instantly taken down. It has to be a threat from the side or a threat from behind. So their positioning there on that attack around the turret, I don't understand at all. Even though the composition, I think, was working fine. I think their execution was off, if anything.
Unfortunately, not going to be the case there for Misfits, as they're backed all the way onto B, but the nice thing is that no ultimates were generated on either side, so at least they don't have to fear the immediate crushing attack streaming into point B. Ruby does have a Transcendence, but that on its own is not too great. Tavik did just generate his Tactical Visor through some great, basically just poke damage, and the Transcendence is going to be committed, actually, to jump down onto the point. It's kind of interesting, while the rest of the fighters are still basically dueling across the way. Maniton is going to lose his suit to Envision, but Tvik finding the kill onto Nex with a Helix Rocket is rather big. Sound Barrier going to come out now for the attacking team. Ruby in trouble against the enemy Winston, not going to be able to be saved by Envision on the Tracer, and Misfits will hang on without giving up a single tick.
Oh, and without expending any ultimates as well, so well played by them. It looked a little shaky at the beginning of that fight, I think, but a lot of ultimates used over on the side of X Attacks. They used both of their support ultimates, and absolutely nothing, as I said before, used from Misfits. So this defense could last quite a while. Now, they're going to have to hold on for quite a while as well, because it's 5 minutes 30 before this timer runs out.
All right, watching Cranks now, since he does have the Dragon Blade ready. Nex also could be a valuable threat there with the Tactical Visor. Just depends how they approach this, really. Hanamura B is one of the hardest to break into, especially when you get Tvik on the Soldier doing work from across the way. Nevix is going to get 2 Dragon Blade kills on both supports. There's a third onto Tracer, and this push is donezo.
They have a nice aggressive defense. It's not particularly reactive or passive. They've got the Winston D.Va, and the 2 support ultimates are going to be used aggressively whenever they want to go in and actually find a wipe. So they're going to try and upset the tempo of X Attacks here. They're going to set up, and when they see them start to get in position for a fight, they're going to throw an ultimate into them. That time, it was the Dragon Blade. Nevix comes up with 3 kills, kind of finds them all clumped together. Perhaps this time it's going to be like reinforced with his Primal Rage or something like that, but they're going to aim to make these ultimates, drag them out, and have good ult economy on the defense.
Well, fortunately, Misfits have a lot of ults to work with, as you said. Nano Visor going to be shutting down the Dragon Blade. He gets stuck, though. Pulse Bomb from Envision on the money as usual, but now it's just supports and a Reinhardt. They're going to fall, of course, pretty rapidly on their own, and really should just die at this point. Ruby does go down. 4 minutes left to try and make point B happen here, and they again have no ults. How does this keep happening? They keep using them at the worst times, and even though they did kill Tvik with the Nano Visor, he had already gotten his damage in by the time he fell, and it's just not a great swap for them. I think the high right side is honestly just not paying off. They may want to consider a squeeze play of some kind, send players to different directions, or just try to go through main and take the fight on the point itself. But so far, this has not been working out.
Yeah, if they get a Tracer in the composition and try playing from the objective as well, drag some players down there, but at the moment they're just trying to take this full-on fight in the top. Maniton takes down Decode after he'd done so much damage to him himself, and everyone from X Attacks falling. Ultimate not even having to be invested there, and they're getting close to the Nano Blade from Misfits, which they had to expend previously as well. So it's not even just good ult economy. X Attacks just aren't even getting their attack in a position where they can even force the ultimates out of Misfit.
Watching Nex here, I think the D.Va swap honestly was used just to be able to get into Tvik's face as often as possible, or at least provide that Matrix to the Death Ball as they move forward, and we'll see what he actually ends up doing. He's going to actually push Winston back onto the point. There's a D.Va suit flying out. There's Nevix's Dragon Blade starting to slice at Decod and Ruby. Talus also goes down. That Nano Boost gives him the superpowers he needs to kill basically everything. Nevix getting 4 killing blows, or maybe just 3 there, but either way, it's a team wipe in the end, again for Misfits, and Tvik has another Tactical Visor. They're just rolling their ults perfectly here against the oncoming attacks of Alternate, X-Alternate, and they're in a rough position. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. They have not been able to get a good look ever since taking this to point B. Point A may have been a fluke. There was a Torbjorn on the field, don't forget, but now they're going to take the fight directly onto the point.
Getting onto the point here, and there's only a couple of ultimates here for Misfits. The Nano Boost is used onto D.Va. I really don't like Nano Boost being used onto D.Vas in general. The damage output isn't great, and there's no need for Nex to have more survivability there. So a little bit wasted perhaps. They've still got the Earth Shatter though, if Decode can hit something massive. And they're starting to get the picks.
They are getting kills. Unfortunately, they just lost 2 in 1 swipe. Cranks and Envision both down, and that is actually going to neuter the push. Tvik has Tactical Visor ready to go still, so they were never really worried. I think they didn't even commit everything that they had to. 1 tick is not the end of the world, and they are going to get the rest. The rest of the kills that they're looking for. Decod is going to be the last one, pretty much. Next, after getting popped out of his suit, can't do anything. And there's suddenly only 90 seconds left now. X Attacks just getting wiped there means they'll have under a minute, essentially, to try and push into multiple ultimates. Misfits have to be feeling good about this full hold.
They're going to have a sound barrier to engage with, and if Decode gets himself really aggressive, he might be able to build up his Earth Shatter in the middle of the fight. also have the tactical visor, but on the other side, there's just so many really impactful ultimates for this defense. The nano boost, whoever it goes onto, is going to shred.
Okay, Tavik, tactical visor, nano visor, in fact, is going to get a lot of damage out. D.Va got up in his face, but he still got the job done. Nevic's Dragon Blade over on the other side allows them double threats, and Cranks is the last Genji here. He's going to have to just die so that he's not staggered too badly, and they are allowed to have another attempt. And Vision does have a tactical visor. Decod has an Earth Shatter, but man, Earth Shatter is so hard to get good value on this point just because no one's going to want to fight toe-to-toe with you on the point as it is. They're just going to lay into you from above. So really still a rough prospect here. I'm going to watch Reinforce. He does have the Primal Rage to knock people around and could be quite significant here.
They go in and play on the point, and Misfits just have players all over the place. It's like an ambush. They're all set up on the high ground, all around them. Cranks now taking this nano boost, whips out his blade as well. They take down Xavi, so he is going to be eliminated before the sound barrier can be used. They've also got the pick onto Reinforce, starting to get players, but they still have that sound barrier and the Earth Shatter left for the defensive team.
Oh my goodness,
they're
going to do it!
All over the place.
I can't believe it. The way that they actually got those kills before Primal Rage was used, before Sound Barrier was used, allowed them to mop up the rest of the kills. D.Va Suit Explosion forces them away from the point, so they have to be careful not to just get exploded. Now the trickle has really begun. Mei is here, but if any time is bought at all by X Attacks, they're going to win this second point. There's a visor out from Tavik. He falls extremely low. Nano Boost actually gives him a little bit of durability to find a kill on Envision, but as the bodies continue to pile up here, X Alternate Attacks do capture the second point with no time remaining. I can't believe they finally got it together in the nick of time. The Nano Blade to start things off from Cranks actually did get the job done. Denying that Primal Rage and Sound Barrier was definitely enough to do it, and wow, Misfits, they're going to actually have to capture both points now instead of just one. So a little bit of a bigger task for them to try and take this series.
Really good target selection, as you were saying. I mean, they absolutely had to pick Xavi off and Reinforce to deny the ultimates, but then they also get picks on everybody else, so that when Xavi respawns with the sound barrier, he doesn't have anybody to use it on. It was only him and Reinforce blocking the point with their ultimates and the sound barrier at that point, and well executed, really good target selection. It took them a long time to get into a position where they even had the ultimates and had expended them out of Misfits, but well played by X Attacks. Still going to be very difficult to hold on, though, I think.
Indeed it will be, as we've got about a minute left to prepare. Misfits have, X Attacks have actually locked in their defense, and they're going with a Torbjorn 2. I know that Soldier, like, there are other DPS characters. Like, I feel Torb plus Sim had its heyday, where the double builder brick wall sort of composition was definitely working, but Sim is out of favor now for the exact same reason that I don't like Torb, which is the risk-reward factor and the fact that you're just a damage magnet. But if he plays it differently than Manitin did, I believe it was Manitin on the side of Misfits that played the Torb, but if he plays it differently, perhaps it can still show some value. They're just better characters, in my opinion, pretty much across the board. Like, even a Widow or a Hanzo, I feel like, would be better from this position just because they have the mobility to get around. They can stay on high ground. They can provide some different defensive capabilities, but it's going to be the doors opening now with basically full-on dive. You can see the defense recessing all the way back, and that Torb turret should come in handy, the place on the point that he dropped it there.
And Manitin's going to wreck this turret as well, though, because they've got the D.Va just to completely take its damage out of the situation, and then they can dive it with Nevix or Reinforce and take it out. Don't think they've actually spotted where it's placed, though, at the moment. Yep, Manitin's spotted now, and he's just going to immediately take it out. It's not very good against D.Va. Even though they played it slightly better, it splits attention between the two teams, and he can build up another one there. They have given up so much position as well.
Well, the fight is fully underway now after that Torb got relocated. He is still alive out there shooting things. No, actually, he's down. So Envision cranks Ruby, trying to defend the point as long as they can. Cranks here as kind of the last hope. If he can stay alive, that Discord Orb is making life difficult, and Tavik has been untouched on the Tracer. I've been on his POV basically this entire first point, and yeah, Tavik, after dealing with that first Torb turret, has been in no danger at all. He's actually got a Pulse Bomb ready to go here for point B. He's already dashed across to try and get in the face of this enemy Reinhardt, and now X attacks are in probably the scariest part of this whole series. Hollywood, they basically got dragged, so they are going to need to put up a really stout defense here.
They absolutely have to find the early picks. They get both of the supports, though. That's huge, really pivotal, because Xavier's got a massive ultimate advantage over Tally's. Tally's had to switch over from the Torbjorn, and so is building his sound barrier right up from the beginning. That's a massive advantage if Xavier actually finishes off the last little remnants and then pops it off in the middle of that fight. But early pick onto him and Zebasai denied those massively impactful ultimates and so much healing for the team.
Well, the timing was good, but unfortunately his teammates were all dead, and after Tavik fell, it was just Nevix actually trying to stay alive the best he could. He did manage to survive, which is cool. He will be very close to a Dragon Blade here for the next push, but yeah, they didn't even get a single tick. Tavik is actually going to try and quickly capture a tick, or at least force them down onto low ground, some of them, and it will succeed in doing exactly that. However, Zave is going to be the first one down. Ruby also bites the dust very quickly. There's a nano-boosted Cranks running around with that Dragon Blade, finds Reinforce as well, and Nevix, I had his POV because the Dragon Blade was ready, but again, his teammates fall before he can make use of it, and X attacks will hang on again. 5.5 minutes, continuing to tick down.
Really early use of the ultimate from Ruby and Cranks, and that means that no support ults were used from Misfits. They recognized that that was a lost fight. It would have been foolish to throw in a sound barrier or a Transcendence to try and block it and then follow up with their own DPS ultimates, and now they have a huge ult bank to work with. Next, with this Graviton, is going to be massively impactful because he can just cut out this initiation immediately.
Well, Envision is all the way on the other side with Attack Visor active as well. However, the Zenyatta Transcendence came into play there in kind of nice fashion. Tavik and Nevix both down right now means this push is going to be a little less powerful. Even if they do get the kills here, the trickle might have the capability of actually finding a kill, and that's really what the hardest part is. When you're trickling back to defend point B, you need to find kills very quickly, and the fact is when there's 6 people staring you down, it can be incredibly difficult. But if there's only 3, they can maybe find one of the squishier targets like Zebosai on the Zenyatta, for example. I'm watching Maniton now hop back into his suit after losing it. That's going to extend the push just a little bit longer here. Taliz, as the Lucio, falling quite low on health. Nevix trying to get that kill, but he's extremely low himself, and as he goes down, X attacks do hold in the nick of time. Again, 2 ticks secured for Misfits, though.
Really well played by Talis, just juking and dodging around. He only had 50 health. And he's just ticking up to the sound barrier as well. Knows that he obviously doesn't want to use it just to keep himself alive. It would be foolish to expend it in that situation, but he really needed to stay alive there just to keep healing the rest of his team and not having to delay his spawn super long. But he had the Discord orb on him as well, so it was nice dodging.
All right, Tavik with the Pulse Bomb loaded up, looking for some squishy targets, perhaps across the way on the high ground. No, instead he's going to actually force everyone down to play with him. Pulse Bomb goes out onto Ruby, and he finds the sticky. Ruby removed from the fight immediately, but so is Zebosai. So again, a 5v5. Zave being taken out again. They are just nuking down these supports as quickly as they can. X attacks, I think they have the right idea, because these damage players are just so slippery. Tavik and Nevix, you can never really hold them down long enough to secure a kill, but Zebosai, as that Zenyatta has no mobility to save himself. The Transcendence is pretty much all he's got, so basically just dive on him every time, find Zave shortly after, and it keeps winning them points.
Maniton has to use his defense matrix there as the peel to make sure that Xavier and Zebasai stay alive. Rather than diving in, just leave that to reinforce, and you peel whenever the Tracer goes onto you. But now it's a D.Va. Sorry, not a D.Va, it's a Genji with the Dragon Blade and the Nano. Pushes them really far out but gets focused down. It might still be a one fight anyway. They're going to want to wait for their DPS pair to get back up before they re-engage.
Yeah, 4v4, you still never want to engage with the 4v4 just because the spawns are so close, so it makes sense to hang on again. 2.5 minutes, not a ton of time to work with. Nevix did not commit his Dragon Blade, at least, before he got destroyed there, so we could have another situation where one of these really late fights, you finally get the scales to tip in your favor, and they have 2 ticks already, so it's going to be, you know, slightly easier than if they are coming in with nothing. Transcendence is going to be used very early. Dragon Blade from Nevix comes flying out. There's a Diva Suit explosion. Can it find anything? No. Really good heads-up play by Misfits to all stay alive there. To Vic, getting the sound barrier benefit helps finish Lucio off. The Pulse Bomb does not quite stick the Ana, but Ana is going to be removed from the fight anyway, and it looks like Misfits should have all the value that they need here to end up taking this. Many, many more blue bodies than red. Decode's going to fall. Nexus Diva Suit is the only thing contesting. Cranks gets back into play. Talus is there as Lucio, but yeah, again, the numbers advantage here from Misfits is going to give them all they need to capture point B. 1 minute and 41 seconds remaining against 0. So these extra rounds will trigger with Misfits at a heavy advantage.
A big advantage for them. 1 minute 41, definitely enough to capture the first point. We'll see what the defensive team here of X alternate attacks goes with as well, because the way that they were playing their Torbjorn, like, it wasn't too bad, the position that they have their Torbjorn in, but in general, I don't particularly like the Torbjorn if you're playing a passive defense as well. And the fact that Manatin's been running the Diva a lot of the time in this 2-2-2 dive composition, I would like to see them move away from it. I don't think the Torbjorn is the correct pick here.
It looks like they're still considering it themselves. 1 minute 41 is not a ton of time to have to defend. You really only have to bounce away that initial push and then one more, and by then, if you've successfully defended the first time, you may even have an ultimate or two to work with. But 0 seconds on the clock, that's all they can hope for is a draw here and try not to lose. If the draw comes through, I believe we'll move to a BO3 on a control map of some kind, but we'll get to that if and when it's necessary. And right now, Misfits, everything is in their hands to essentially send themselves to the playoffs. All they have to do is capture point A on Hanamura in 1 minute 41, and they will have a 4-0 series scoreline and be basically locked in. So here we go. To Vic is going to be my first person to watch, of course, as that Tracer is definitely going to be driving the action a little bit. Actually already taking kind of a flanking route to try and deal with Ruby on the Ana.
Again, going top right as Nevix goes top left, and trying to get in behind them at the same time as Nevix and Reinforce compose the brunt of their push forward. See if they can twist and turn Decode's shield around until they finally engage. Reinforce jumping in, see what damage he can get done. Taken down fairly quickly by that Reinhardt hammer though. And in general, this is looking like a successful defense. They've got a huge player and health advantage.
We're going to see just one super long fight. Never mind, Genji and Tracer actually left. I was going to say Tavik and Nevix are probably just going to sustain themselves, try and get poke damage in. Nevix specifically has the ability to just keep tossing shurikens and try and get up to a Dragon Blade, and that certainly would be a great tool to try and take A here, but they back out just to stay alive. They have more opportunities here with a full 6, so I think they know the defenders are all kind of pigeonholed into that small building there, but they march onto the point. There's no ults on the other side to work with still, so it's going to be pretty brutal in general. Envision taking a lot of shurikens there. Envision's going to be the first one eliminated.
Oh, this is huge. The turn of momentum here. And as the self-destruct comes onto the point, doesn't look like it's going to be able to catch anybody. He's already taken down Reinforce, but this is looking like such a much better push here for Misfits. The pick onto Zebaside, though, pretty impactful, but Nevix Dragon Blade is going to clear players off the point. There's nobody left to contest, and with 33 seconds left, they take Hanamura and take the series, but they certainly made it close there.
Crank's throwing out a no reg at the end, meaning, of course, his Dragon Blade had a swing and a miss at some point, but it doesn't matter. I think Nevix definitely just staying alive long enough to get that Dragon Blade and seal the deal, which could have been really scary at the end. As you mentioned, Zebasai went down, and it was really just Genji and company on the point. Nevix would play the match, probably that Dragon Blade, to actually win in extra rounds here. So here's another look at that. Cranks was swiping away, but Nevix gets right in there, takes out Taliz as well as Cranks to finish the job. And there you see Misfits winning with a scoreline of 2-1. Their series score is now 4-0 in Group B, so they are looking great and most likely headed into the playoffs. X attacks unfortunately fall to 0-4 in the series score, and I don't think that there's any way they're going to be able to continue contending here. So they will still play a match tomorrow for us, but I think that is pretty much their tournament run for the time being.
It is, and they had a really good run through the qualifiers. Managed to beat out Vivi's Adventure in the final, who over in Group 1 have managed to make the playoffs in 3rd place, in fact. So perhaps a more difficult group overall in Group 2, but Alternate Attacks certainly showed that they're able to contest the teams. They're just not able to actually clinch the victories. But this next game that we're going to be looking at is also incredibly pivotal for these teams and their playoff runs in Overwatch PIT Championship, because Hammers and Dignitas are both 1-2, and a loss here, especially for Hammers, is pretty much going to send them home. And both of these two teams are the kind of caliber where you would expect them to make the playoffs. It's a bit surprising to see them so far down.
Yeah, I think Dignitas and Hammers should be a very closely contested match. We may even see all 3 series of our of today's matches go to a game 3. It is potentially there. So thanks again. We've now broken 5,000 viewers. So hello everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed the exciting conclusion to Misfits and X Attacks. But right now we're going to toss it over to our sponsors to show you some of their offerings. Thanks to them, of course, for allowing us to throw these tournaments. We'll rejoin you in just a couple of minutes for Hammers Esports versus Dignitas. It will be our last match of the day.